Oh, there we go. Welcome back, everyone, to yet another beautiful, beautiful Friday. Now, to get this week, to complete this week, to make sure that everything is A-OK in the lands between, we are going to read one hell of a story that I pulled. So sit back, relax, and have one good hell of a moment. This is A Glimmer of Love. The sun hung low in the sky, painting the world in soft golden hues. The scent of fresh blooms drifted on the gentle breeze as Alara stepped into the bustling marketplace of Eondor, the capital city of the kingdom. Her cloak fluttered behind her, the silver embroidery catching the light as she walked past the stalls filled with merchants hawking their wares. It was a peaceful day, the kind of day where the air felt thick with possibilities. She hadn't been in Eondor long, but it already felt like a place of new beginnings. Alara had come to the city to train as a healer, to hone her craft, and perhaps to leave behind the painful memories of her past. But little did she know, today would change her life in ways she never expected. As she browsed through a stall of finely crafted leather goods, her eyes met those of a young man standing nearby. His hair was the color of autumn leaves, dark with a hint of auburn, and his emerald eyes were full of warmth and curiosity. He wore a simple tunic. The fabric faded from years of travel, but it only added to his charm. What's going on, Osha? He smiled as their gazes locked, and Alara felt a flutter in her chest, an unexpected warmth spreading throughout her. Hey, what's going on, Queen? Forgive me, he said, his voice rich and deep. But I must ask, are you the healer who resides in the Northern District? Alara blinked, a little caught off guard, but she nodded slowly. Yes, that would in fact be me, and I've only recently arrived here. Why do you ask? The man's smile deepened. I've heard of your skills. It is said that you can mend a broken heart, as well as you can heal a wound, and that is a rare talent. Her cheeks flushed slightly at the compliment. I tried to do my best. I've been doing pretty good, by the way. Lots of projects, lots of everything, and now we're just wrapping up storytime Saturdays. Or storytime, this whole week has been storytime stuff. The man's smile deepened. I've heard of your skills. It is said that you can mend a broken heart as well as heal a wound, and that is rare talent. Her cheeks flushed slightly at the compliment. I tried to do my best. His smile grew wider, and she noticed the soft, teasing glint in his eyes. What's going on, Ray? Well, I'm glad to see the rumors are true. My name is Kale, by the way. I'm a traveling bard, though I've been in Eondor longer than I care to admit. A bard, huh? Alara tilted her head, intrigued. I've heard stories of bards. They sing songs of heroism, tales of great warriors. But I suppose not all bards travel to the world for tales of glory. You're almost done with your VTuber? Hell yeah, I can't wait to see it. Can't wait to see what you got in store. Kale chuckled softly. Not all of us, no. Some of us are in search of something deeper, something that can't be captured in a song. There was a brief, thoughtful pause between them. The air between them seemed to hum with an unspoken connection. Alara, a little flustered, cleared her throat. It seems we're both on our own quests then. Kale's eyes softened. His gaze never leaves hers. Perhaps. But I think I found something worth pursuing here in Eondor. He stepped a little closer, his voice dropping to a playful whisper. Perhaps you're part of it. Alara felt her heart race at his words, her lips parting slightly in a surprise. She hadn't expected such boldness, but there was something about him. A warmth, an honesty, whatever it was, it drew me in. Before she could respond, a voice called out from across the market, pulling both their attentions away. Alara! A familiar face had appeared, a young woman with short, platinum blonde hair and bright blue eyes. It was Lyra, one of Alara's friends from the Healers Guild. There you are. I've been looking all over for you. Alara turned to greet her, a smile breaking across her face. Lyra, what brings you to the market? Lyra's eyes flicked to Kale, a knowing smile playing at the corner of her lips. I just thought I'd see if you needed help with your shopping, but it seems you found some company. Kale gave a soft, polite nod, and Alara could feel the tension rise, the warmth of the moment fading slightly. She hadn't meant to appear so open. She hadn't meant to make it seem like she was already taken by him. Kale, this is my friend Lyra, Alara said, trying to sound casual. Lyra, this is Kale. He's a bard. A bard, Lyra exclaimed. I bet you have quite a few stories to share, don't you? Kale's lips curled into a playful grin. I have more stories than I can tell, but I think we'll need to drink to get through them all. Lyra laughed, but there was a glint in her eye, one that Alara didn't quite understand. It was subtle, but it's still there. I'm surprised he didn't tune in for any of my streams. He must have been busy. Yeah, I've been working on a project with the Godfall avatar creator, and I've just been working on coding and stuff like that. So, yeah, apologies. I've just been busy with stuff lately. I do go back and watch the VODs though, if they're available. Well, Alara, I'll let you two get back to it, Lyra said, her voice sweet but with an underlying edge. I need to head back to the guild. I'll see you later. Of course, Alara replied, though her attention was momentarily pulled back to Kale, who was still watching her intently. Lyra gave them both a nod before walking off, her figure disappearing into the crowd. Alara turned back to Kale, her cheeks flushed from the brief exchange. Forgive her, Alara said, nervously laughing. Lyra is protective, but she means well. Alright, sounds good, Queen. Kale's gaze followed Lyra's retreating figure, his expression unreadable for a moment. When he looked back at Alara, he offered a soft smile. There's no need to apologize, but I do hope we can continue our conversation another time. I'd like to get to know you better, Alara. Her heart fluttered again, but this time there was a hesitation in her chest. She wasn't sure if it was Lyra's sudden departure or the thought of opening herself to someone again. But she couldn't ignore the faint spark of worry that lingered. Perhaps, Alara said softly. Perhaps I'll see you again, Kale. And with that, he nodded and smiled one last time before walking off, leaving Alara standing alone in the marketplace with thoughts swirling in her mind. She wasn't sure what the future held, but for the first time in a long while, she felt something. Something soft. Something hopeful. It was a feeling she hadn't had in years. The seed of jealousy. Oh wait, actually I just realized something. Sorry if that was a bit loud. Now things should sound a little bit more natural. And you can hear me on both sides, left and right. The days passed by, the warm summer sun now making way for the cool winds of autumn. Alara's life had settled into a rhythm, visiting the guild, tending to her patients, and quietly reflecting on her encounter with Kale. His face lingered in her thoughts more than she expected, and though she didn't want to admit it, her heart quickened whenever she thought of him. But something had changed since their last meeting in the marketplace. The encounters between them had become less frequent, and Alara couldn't shake the feeling that there was something off. Kale's visits to the Healers Guild, which had once seemed like a charming gesture, had become less regular. When he did appear, he always seemed to be busy, eyes flicking around the room as if looking for something or something else. Alara had tried to brush it off, telling herself that perhaps he had simply grown too busy with his travels, but the odd, lingering silence between them was hard to ignore. One evening, after a particularly long day at the guild, Alara made her way to the local tavern. She needed a moment to herself, a chance to unwind from the pressures of her healing duties. As she entered the tavern, the low hum of chatter and the clinking of mugs filled the air. The warmth from the fire crackled in the hearth, casting a soft glow over the room. Alara made her way to a quiet corner and sat down by a table, ordering a simple glass of wine. She wasn't in the mood for company. No, not tonight. She just wanted peace. Peace and quiet, something to calm her thoughts. But as soon as she took a sip, the door swung open and in walked Kale. He spotted her almost immediately, and their eyes met across the room. For a moment, there was that same warmth, that same pull. Alara felt a flutter of hope in her chest, and a small smile tugged at her lips, but it was fleeting. Kale didn't come straight to her. Instead, he lingered by the bar, talking to the barkeep and laughing. His eyes would occasionally flicker over to her, but he never made a move to join her. And then he noticed something. Someone standing beside him. It was a woman. A woman with dark, flowing hair, dressed in an elegant green gown, laughing brightly at whatever Kale had just said. Her voice was light, melodic, the kind of voice that seemed to captivate everyone who heard it. Alara's stomach twisted, and a strange, unfamiliar sensation rose in her chest. It was jealousy. She wasn't sure why it stung so much. After all, Kale had never made any promises, never expressed anything beyond a passing interest. Yet still, seeing him with someone else, seeing the way she smiled at him and touched his arm, it felt like a painful reminder that she had no claim on him. Alara took another sip of her wine, her eyes darting away from them, but it was no use. She could feel the weight of their laughter pressing against her. And then, as if the universe had decided to add salt to the wound, she saw Lyra, her platinum blonde hair glowing under the tavern's lanterns, walking toward the table where Ilara had sat. "Hey, Lara," Lyra said brightly, her eyes scanning the room before landing on the pair by the bar. "Ah, I see. Kale has found some company tonight." Alara forced a smile, trying to mask the wave of discomfort flooding through her. "Yes, I noticed," she replied, her voice almost distant. Lyra, who had always been perceptive, raised an eyebrow at her friend. "You don't look very happy about it. I thought you two had hit it off." "We did," Alara answered quickly. "A little too quickly. But I suppose it was just a passing moment." Lyra's gaze lingered on Alara's face, a knowingly look passing between them. She slid into the seat opposite her friend, leaning in slightly. "Alara, you know you don't have to compete for someone's attention, right?" Alara blinked, a confused frown pulling at her lips. She asked, "What do you mean?" Lyra gestured subtly to the bar. Oh, shit. Sorry about that. Lyra gestured subtly to the bar. "Kale is a charming man, and he's used to people noticing him. It doesn't mean he's chosen someone else." "Hasn't he?" Alara whispered, more to herself than to Lyra. Lyra didn't immediately respond. Instead, she studied Alara with a quiet intensity. "You know, it doesn't hurt to wait. Sometimes the right things take time to reveal themselves." Alara's chest tightened. She wasn't sure what to say. She hadn't wanted to admit it, but the more she thought about Kale's actions, the more she realized that he wasn't just avoiding her. He was pulling away. The feeling of rejection wrapped itself around her heart, and she found herself withdrawing further into her thoughts. Days turned into weeks, and the tension between Alara and Kale grew heavier. Though they continued to cross paths in the guild, their interactions were polite, almost formal. Kale seemed distant, his attention always on something or someone else. Alara couldn't help but notice how he spent more time with the woman from the tavern whose name she learned was Seraphine. The jealousy that had once felt like a fleeting thought now became a permanent ache, one that Alara could not ignore. One fateful afternoon, the tension finally reached its breaking point. Alara was sitting in the guild's common room when Kale entered. He didn't notice her immediately, but when he did, he made his way over, his smile absent. There was an edge to his expression, something guarded, something cold. "Alara," he said quietly, his voice almost flat. "We need to talk." Her heart skipped a beat, and a knot formed in her stomach. "What's going on, Kale? Why have you been avoiding me?" Kale's gaze faltered for a moment before locking with hers. "I haven't been avoiding you." "Then why have you been so distant?" Alara asked, her voice trembling softly. "I see you with Seraphine all the time. Is she more important to you than I am?" Kale took a sharp breath, stepping back as if her words had struck him. "It's not like that, Alara. But Alara wasn't sure if she could bear to hear more. The pain in her chest was growing, suffocating her. "Maybe you should just go," she whispered, her voice small, her voice with hints of hurt. Kale opened his mouth to say something, but the words never came. He turned and walked away, leaving Alara in a whirl of emotions, confusion, sadness, and an aching sense of loneliness. The days after their confrontation felt like weeks. The silence between them louder than any words could have ever been. Alara threw herself into her healing duties, hoping the distraction would dull the ache in her chest. But no matter how she focused on her work, her mind kept drifting back to Kale. His warm smile, the way his eyes had once held a spark of something more than friendship, something she thought was real. Yet now, it felt like everything had fallen apart. The bond they shared, so bright and full of promise, it seemed to have slipped away in the space between their words. But fate, as it often does, has its own plans. One afternoon, while Alara was out in the field gathering herbs, a sudden and unexpected attack shattered the peaceful silence of the countryside. A group of marauding bandits, armed and ruthless, descending upon the village. Screams filled the air as the attackers ravaged the peaceful hamlet, stealing from the helpless villagers and setting fire to the thatched roofs. Alara's first instinct was to rush back to the guild, to ensure the safety of those she cared for. She was moving quickly, but as she entered the outskirts of the village, she saw something that made her heart drop. A familiar figure standing in the distance, facing the bandits head-on. Kale. He stood alone in the open, his back to the flames, his sword drawn and gleaming in the daylight. He was already engaged in the battle with the attackers, his movements swift and sure. Alara's breath caught in her throat as she watched him, but she could also feel something else stirring in her, this fierce protectiveness, a need to help this guy. But what could she do? She wasn't a warrior, not like him. Her role was in the healing arts, not combat. And yet, she knew she couldn't simply stand by and watch him fight alone, especially not after everything that had happened between them. Without thinking, Alara rushed toward him, her heart pounding in her chest. As she neared the fray, a bandit spotted her, and before she could react, he lunged toward her with a blade drawn. Panic surged through her, but she never had the chance to defend herself. In the next instant, a blur of movement appeared between her and the bandit, a flash of steel, a clash of metal. The bandit fell to the ground with a shout, and Kale's sword still dripping with his blood. "Alara, get back," Kale shouted, his voice low and commanding, but his gaze never left the bandit's fallen form. "It's too dangerous." Alara didn't listen, though. Her body moved on instinct, her mind focused solely on helping him. She grabbed a nearby piece of wood, using it to knock another bandit off balance. Kale caught sight of her out of the corner of his eye, and for the briefest of moments, their gazes had met. In that instant, all the confusion, the anger, it all fell away. The world seemed to slow. And for a moment, for a heartbeat, there was nothing but the two of them standing on the edge of chaos, separated by more than just distance, but also their hearts. Kale swung his sword again, cutting down another bandit. His eyes remained fixed on Alara, the flicker of something he hadn't allowed himself to feel, shining in their depths. Without warning, he took another step towards her, his sword still in hand. "Alara," he said, his voice much softer now. His usual confidence replaced by something more raw. "I never wanted you to think you weren't important to me. I don't know what happened between us. I pushed you away, and for that I'm sorry." And Alara stood there speechless, caught between the flames of the battle and the fire in her heart. She can see the sincerity in his eyes, the apology that he'd never said aloud before, but even now, the space between them felt vast, too vast to cross. "You don't have to apologize, Kale," she said softly, her voice trembling. "I was just scared. I thought you were gone from me." "I was never gone, Alara," Kale replied, his voice beginning to become hoarse. "I was just afraid of what might happen if I let myself care. But I do care about you more than I ever wanted to admit." And before she could respond, a loud battle cry broke through the air, and another bandit charged at them from the side, sword raised high, intent on striking them both down. And without hesitation, Kale shoved Alara behind him, the clash of his sword meeting the bandit's steel echoing through the battlefield. In that instant, Alara knew that this wasn't just about fighting for survival. It was a moment of reckoning where both of them had to confront not only the dangers around them, but the feelings they had for one another. Kale's strength was undeniable as he parried the bandit's strike and countered with a well-placed blow. The bandit crumpled to the ground defeated, but the danger wasn't over. Oh shit, I had to cough, sorry. More bandits emerged, and the fight continued. But Kale fought with renewed vigor, his every movement now infused with a fierce protectiveness. He was no longer fighting alone. Alara was beside every movement, doing what she could do to help, her heart in sync with his in a way that felt more real than anything they'd ever shared. The battle raged on, but as the last of the attackers fled or fell, Kale and Alara stood together, breathless and covered in sweat. They had fought side by side, and in that moment, everything they had been avoiding, everything they had been too scared to face, had come to light. Kale sheathed his sword and turned to Alara, his expression softer now, no longer guarded. He reached for her hand, his touch warm and steady. "I don't want to fight anymore, Alara. Not with you." And Alara looked up at him, her heart racing. "And neither do I." The pain of the past weeks seemed to melt away in the heat of the moment, and for the first time in a long while, Alara felt like she was finally standing in the right place, Kale by her side. Kale's hand cupped her cheek, his touch gentle and tender. "I love you, Alara. I'm sorry for everything. I never meant to hurt you." And tears welled in Alara's eyes, but this time they weren't tears of sorrow. They were in fact tears of relief, of hope. "I love you too, Kale." And in that moment, under the shadow of the still smoking battlefield, the two of them knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face together. Kale grabbed her hands, interlocking fingers with Alara, and the two shared a moment's kiss. Fuck, man, that was a beautiful ass love story. Oh my god. I'm not gonna lie, bro, I'm fucking crying right now. My eyes are sweating just a little bit. It's a beautiful story. That was a very, very beautiful story. Holy shit. I really enjoyed that, actually. What up, Auntie? Coming in with a hydrate, I got you. Give me a second. Alright, let's do that. Let's get some sugar. And some water. And let's get the next story. That was a very beautiful story. Let's begin. Oh damn, another love story, huh? KittehKun. Alright. Let's begin. Let me adjust this. Alright. In the quietude of a moonlight evening, where the world seemed to exhale a gentle sigh, there existed a love so delicate that the very air around it shimmered with reverence. Beneath the gilded sky, where stars twinkled like the scattered gems of a forgotten tiara, two souls found themselves entwined in a dance of fate so exquisite. It was as if the universe itself had orchestrated their meeting. Her name was Elowen, an ethereal creature whose very presence seemed to stir the air, soft as the petals of a midnight bloom. She moved with a grace that defied the world, as though she were a whisper of the wind, as though her spirit fluttered in the spaces between her breaths. Her eyes, deep and endless, held the stories of 1,000 unspoken dreams. They reflected the moon, the stars, the mysteries of cosmos, and perhaps most of all, a quiet yearning for something more, something unspoken, something that had yet to be named. And then there was Alistar. His name fell from the lips like gentle brushing of a breeze over the tranquil surface of a lake. Tall and refined, with a countenance so serene, it was as if his soul had wandered from the pages of an old forgotten poem. His eyes were the color of a storm, of thunderclouds gathering in a cerulean sky, but his heart, his heart was a haven. A sanctuary of kindness, humility, and longing. His every word was a lullaby, every movement a verse of some divine ballad that spoke of promises unbroken, of hopes eternal. Their first meeting was not one of grand declarations or fevered touches, but rather of a single fleeting moment. It was as if time itself had paused, allowing them the privilege of shared silence. They stood across from one another, a mere breath away, yet worlds apart. The world hummed around them, but within that space there was only the softness of shared gazes. No need for words, for the language of the heart was understood in the quiet stillness between them. "Elowen," he whispered at last, his voice a tender murmur. "You are like the first raindrop after a long drought, unexpected, refreshing, a promise of things to come." Her lips curved into the faintest of smiles, a smile that seemed to carry the weight of centuries, and yet it was light as the gossamer threads of a spider's web. "And you, Alistar," she breathed, her words as delicate as the fluttering of a butterfly's wings. "You are the sunlight after the storm, the warmth that follows the chill, the touch that mends what was once broken." In that moment their hands brushed as if by accident, yet it was a touch that ignited a fire in their souls, flickering, tender, but undeniable. The world, with all its chaos and clamor, faded into the background, leaving them standing on the precipice of something greater than themselves, something that can never be fully expressed, only felt. It was as though the earth had conspired to bring them together, as if the universe itself had woven a tapestry of stars and fate around them, urging them toward the inevitable. Days passed, and with them, the blossoms of love grew in their hearts. Tender and shy at first, then bold and full, blooming in the warmth of shared glances and stolen moments. They found themselves speaking not only in words, but in silences too. Long, meaningful silences where the mere presence of the other was enough to fill the air with an unspoken promise. When they kissed, it was not with the ferocity of storms, but with the softness of raindrops falling on a quiet night, slow, gentle, with an eternity of unspoken affection contained in every soft brush of their lips. In that kiss, they tasted the sweetness of time itself, felt the pulse of the earth beneath them, and knew, deep within their bones, that this was in fact love. Love in the sense that burned with unrestrained passion, but the kind that settled deep into the marrow of their beings. The kind that whispered through every glance, every touch, and every heartbeat. It was a love that understood the beauty of quiet moments and the joy found in simply being together. As seasons passed, their love only deepened, weaving itself into the fabric of their lives until it became as natural as breathing. And though they spoke of it little, for words felt inadequate to convey the depth of what they shared, their love was known in every glance, in every shared smile, in every word unspoken, but understood. Love not marked by grand gestures or fervent declarations, but by the simple, quiet beauty of two souls entwined forever in the unspoken promise of forever. And thus, it's soft, flowy, and it filled the air with a delicate affection, and the two lived happily ever after. And thus was the whispers of the heart. I like that one. That's a good story. It's a very good story, actually. To love someone so deeply that even the mere silence is communication in and of itself. The art of silence. I think that's what we should all take from the story. Is if you have love for someone, if you have love in your heart, then even just the mere act of sitting in silence should speak volumes. And that's how you know you're comfortable with someone. When you can sit in silence with this person or thing, and still the silence speaks 1,000 words. Ain't that some shit? Love is an interesting thing, guys. It's unexpected. Oftentimes, you don't even understand why. Half the time, you don't even understand why you love someone. Or maybe you do. For some reason, you can't hear me on here. Uh-oh. Is my microphone off? My microphone seems to be coming through. Oh, shit. Yeah, no, I'm fine. Okay. You got me a little worried there, Nightmare. I was like, what you mean? Alright, let me take off my hoodie. Set that down slowly. Let's take this off. Let's put that here. Like you can't hear my voice? Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're saying, that you can't hear my voice? Is it too quiet? Is my voice like too quiet? Is that what's going on, or what the issue? What are his apps at? Alright, let's get the next story ready. Alright, let's get into the next one. You don't know, man? Yeah, that's weird. My microphone is coming through. Oh, that's better? Oh, okay. Oh, shit, you're like delayed. Okay. Alright, I got you. So, okay, I gotta talk like in the microphone. I got you. Hold on. I got you. Now I gotta get up close and personal in this bitch. Alright. Oh shit, wait, let me get this next one. Ooh, shit. Let me get this next one ready. Alright, let's do that. Alright. Alright. I got a horror story for y'all. Fucking ouch, bro. I'm actually so sore today. Ah. I've been working on some bullshit all week today. Like, fuck. I don't know if any of y'all checked the Discord lately, but I posted a video of me practicing Kiryu's moveset from the Yakuza series, and let's just say fucking ouch. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not bad by any means. Right? It's just like, it's just an ouchies. Like, slipping on ice? Yeah, okay, so you saw. Yeah, you saw it. You definitely saw it. Oh my god, that shit hurts so much though. I went, slip! Ah! And, you know, you see me laughing in the video, but like on some real shit, I was like, fucking ouch, that shit hurt. But yeah, nah, like, I was having so much fun though. And that's probably the cleanest I've ever gotten it. The cleanest that I've ever gotten that whole sequence. Honestly, I couldn't be any happier. God, reading all these stories is starting to make me sound like a fucking anime character. Yeah, I just slipped on some ice. But I've been training all this week, face ass. Okay. I can't be too loud. I can't be too loud on this stream. even though like I wanna fucking laugh loud as fuck, but I can't. Right? Because I know there are people who are watching this, and you know, like, I don't want to blow out your fucking eardrum, you know what I'm saying? So, I'm still getting used to this whole ASMR thing, and it's pretty fun, I'm not gonna lie. Holy shit. Left, right, ouch. Yeah. It's honestly so cool. Right? To be able to replicate that in real life. Right? I really enjoyed making that video. And none of those techniques can really be used in a fight, right? You don't actually want to use one of those in a fight. But I mean, like, you could, but you better be fighting someone who's like either drunk or just extremely inept at fighting. Right? In a real fight, I would just use kickboxing. Right? Because that's more like practical and more flashy. But, if I'm just doing like performative stuff, then I'm gonna do shit that doesn't even make any sense. You know what I mean? Like, it looks good for the camera, I guess, or it looks good for me. I don't know. Maybe I'm just goofy. What do you say? Are you a goofy guy? Hell yeah. Okay, alright, let's read this horror story now. I need to actually I need to actually shut the fuck up sometimes. Alright, let's begin. This is called The Woods Beyond. Here, let me turn this down just a little bit. I think right there is good. Maybe, I don't know. Okay. Yeah, right here. The sun was setting, casting long, ghostly shadows over the desolate town of Stoneleigh. A quiet place where most people either left in search of something bigger or stayed because they had nowhere else to go. For the teenagers of Stoneleigh High, there was only one thing that kept the dull days alive, and that was stories. The stories always began the same. It was a secret, one that had been passed down through generations, whispered across the woods beyond the edge of town. The Hollow, they called it. Rumor had it that someone had been trapped there for centuries. The woods weren't just trees and undergrowth. They were alive with the darkness that hung thicker than the damp fog that rolled in each evening. Tonight, 4 friends, Ben, Alyssa, Matt, and Claire, decided to venture into these woods. They had heard the stories and laughed them off and dared each other to go, daring fate to catch up with them. Let's just go in, grab a few pics, and leave, Alyssa suggested, as she adjusted the strap on her backpack, her voice half joking, but also half nervous. You really think I'll chicken out? Matt Ever, the show-off, grinned, but his hands trembled as he zipped his hoodie. Ben, the leader, had always been the first to take risks. We're in this together. No one turns back. Claire was the quiet one, always reserved, always cautious. But tonight, something in the air made her feel like this was no longer a joke. Something had changed. The sky, a deepish purple hue, loomed above them like a bad omen. She then tried to ignore the feelings creeping under her skin, the coldness as they headed toward the woods. The moment they crossed the threshold, the forest seemed to swallow them whole. The trees closed in, the faint light of the setting sun barely piercing through the canopy above. The ground was soft and uneven, thick with damp leaves and strange markings, like something had been dragged across the earth. Claire shivered, the hairs on the back of her neck standing up as they ventured deeper. She didn't want to seem scared, but her instincts screamed at her to turn back. And yet still they pressed on, walking into the heart of the hollow. Ben led the way, determination in his eyes. Come on, guys. It's just a forest. People get lost in here all the time, but we won't be those people. Alyssa rolled her eyes, but she didn't laugh. There was something unsettling about the place that made her hold her breath, as if the trees were watching and listening. Hours passed, or maybe it was just minutes. Time seemed irrelevant now. They reached the old stone circle, an ancient landmark at the center of the hollow. It was covered in moss and vines, the stone pillars looming like forgotten giants. "This is it," Matt said, his voice faltering. "What do you think, Claire?" Claire wasn't listening. She had stepped away from the group, drawn to a strange symbol carved into one of the old stones. It looked like a pair of eyes, but the way the lines twisted made her stomach churn. She reached out to touch it, but the moment her fingers brushed beneath the surface, the ground started to shift beneath her feet. "Claire," Ben called, his voice harsh with panic, but it was already too late. The earth cracked open, swallowing her up in a whirl of dirt and darkness. The others rushed forward, but the stone circle was now an impenetrable wall. "Claire," Alyssa screamed, "where are you?" There was no answer, just the heavy silence of the woods. And then, something worse than silence. The whispers began. At first, it was just a faint rustling in the wind, but soon it grew louder. Voices, low and indistinct, rising from the earth itself, like the whispers of something ancient and hungry. The trees around them groaned, and the branches seemed to reach down as if to grab them. Alyssa spun around, eyes wide as the shadows deepened. "We need to leave. Now," she cried. But Ben stood frozen, staring at the stone circle. "You don't understand," he said, his voice low and strained. "The story, it's real. It's been waiting." Matt, his face pale, backed away from the circle. Ben, we have to go. Claire's gone, But the air had thickened. The darkness pressing in from every side. A shrill cry spilled the night, unmistakably Claire's voice, coming from somewhere deep in the forest. We can't leave her, Ben said, his eyes wild. She's part of it now. We all are. And before anyone could react, the ground trembled beneath their feet. The trees began to shake violently as the whispers turned into guttural growls. Something was coming. Something old and malevolent. A shaped form in the distance, tall, twisted, covered in shadows that flickered like flames. But it was wrong. The very air seemed to bend and ripple around it as if reality itself was warping in its presence. No, Matt whispered, his voice shaking. We have to run. Now. But it was already too late. The entity moved with unnatural speed, crossing the distance in a blink. Its eyes, ancient, endless voids, fixed on the group. It reached for them with long, gnarled fingers, its touch freezing the very air around them. Ben was the first to scream as the thing wrapped its hand around his throat, lifting him off the ground with a horrifying ease. The others scrambled back, but the whispers were everywhere now, in their ears, their minds, and in their heart. Elisa felt something cold curl around her ankle, pulling her toward the ground. Ouch. She screamed as her fingers of shadow wrapped around her legs, dragging her into the earth. Claire's voice, soft but frantic, echoed through the depths. Help me. You're not safe here. You can't escape. But Claire wasn't Claire anymore. She was the forest now. The hollow feeding on their fear, pulling them deeper into its blackened roots. The very woods that had been waiting for centuries to claim them. The next morning, the town of Stoneleigh was eerily quiet. The sun rose like any other day, but no one noticed the empty space in the woods. The missing part of the forest where the stones had stood, only the whispers remained, lingering on the wind. The stories? They would never stop. Not now. Not as long as the woods behind them kept it alive. For those brave enough to venture close, there was always one question lingering in the air. Who would be next to disappear in the hollow? Find out next episode on Dragon Ball Z. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just fucking around. I'm just fucking around. And that was The Woods Beyond. Oh my god, dude, my fucking nose. Am I having a nosebleed right now? No, I'm not. Dude, what the fuck, man? My nose is like stuffed to shit right now. I'll never understand it. And once upon a time, there lived a cat boy by the name of KittehKun. This cat boy would train day in, day out. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I don't actually have a story about me. That would be lit as fuck, though. Just like a surprise lore drop, like, ah. Holy shit, dude, my allergies are bugging right now. Alright, give me 1 second. Let me blow my fucking nose. You know, as much as I love springtime, the one thing I hate is that my allergies get so fucked up, man. Honestly, I'll probably just bring it up to my doctor pretty damn soon. The story of KittehKun. He trained day in and day out, only for his debut to be met by face planting in ice. But then he made it look so cool. Hell no. Once upon a time, right? Lara, welcome into the channel. Welcome in. We just finished a story. We're getting the next one ready now. So yes, grab a snack, sit back, relax, and enjoy these stories. Oh shit, what's going on, Gangazar? I have sound alerts turned off right now, even though I know what that is. In some instances. Word on the office is you have a fat cock. Oh shit, excuse me. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. Okay. I'm so sorry about that, guys. I did not mean to burp all up in the fucking microphone like that. I'm so sorry. Okay. Alright, let's get this next story ready. Fucking shit. Yeah, right? Oh, Lord Jeeves. Bless you. Thank you. Wait, actually, I got you. I could force a sneeze right now. Hold on. Oh, here it is. I do actually feel the need to sneeze, but it's not coming out, so let me just do that real quick. So we'll do it like this. I fucking hate allergies so much. Shit. Oh shit. I think I might need to take a motherfucking Zyrtec. Okay. Well, let's keep it going. Oh shit. Okay, let's begin. The reflection. There's a house on the outskirts of town, just past the overgrown cemetery, where no one dares to go after dark. The locals call it the Mirror House, and for good reason, too. It's been abandoned for decades, but it wasn't empty. People who have wandered too close out of curiosity or perhaps a reckless desire to challenge old superstitions have returned with stories that make even the bravest shudder. They speak of strange reflections, of a figure standing just out of sight in the glass, of eyes that follow them, flickering and shifting like the surface of a pool disturbed by an unseen hand. The story I'm about to tell you begins with one such curiosity. A group of friends who believed they were invincible. They didn't believe in tales whispered behind closed doors. They thought, like most, that fear was simply the product of imagination. That was their first mistake. Okay, my allergies are kind of picking up, so I don't know how many more stories we'll read. Oh my god, fucking hell. Ah, shit. It was the last week of summer break. 4 of them. Emma, the dreamer, Jake, the skeptic, Natalie, the rebel, and Ian, the prankster. They were inseparable, with plans to make this summer unforgettable. So, when Ian suggested... Or should I just... Oh. What? Oh, so... When Ian suggested they visit the old mirror house to prove how ridiculous the local legends were, it seemed like the perfect challenge. I bet you $10 I can walk through the front door without flinching, Ian said, smirking. His challenge wasn't taken seriously at first, but after some nudging, they found themselves driving out to the edge of town just as the sun began to set. Okay, I really need to blow my nose. Hold on. Holy fuck, that feels so much better. The house sat at the end of a long, narrow dirt road, hidden behind a dense screen of trees. It looked every bit the haunted relic the townspeople claimed it to be, tall and imposing, with peeling paint and dark, empty windows like soulless eyes watching them approach. The air around it felt different, thick and almost suffocating, as though something was waiting for them. You know, maybe this wasn't such a good idea, Emma muttered, clutching her bag tightly. Jake rolled his eyes. It's just a house, Emma, come on. You're not scared, are you? Natalie snorted. Yeah, if Ian can do it, so can you. She shoved Emma playfully toward the old front gate, which creaked eerily as it swung open with almost no effort. I'm fine, Emma said, though her voice betrayed her. Together they made their way through the tall, unkempt grass, the fading light casting strange shadows across their path. At the door, Ian grinned. You guys ready to see if this place is as creepy as they say? No one answered, but they followed him side anyways. Okay, this is gonna be the last story before we wrap up. My allergies are fucking beating my ass right now. Fuck. The inside of the house was colder than expected. The air damp and thick with a scent of mildew. A thick layer of dust covered every surface, and the floorboards groaned with each step they took. They wandered through the rooms, the decaying furniture, faded wallpaper. The window was so filthy that sunlight barely made it through. But it was the mirror that caught their attention. It stood at the end of the hallway, large and ornate, a frame gilded in tarnished gold. The mirror was framed by ivy-like patterns that seemed to pulse in the dim light as if alive. "Ian, that's it, right?" Natalie said, her voice mocking. "The famous mirror. We're supposed to be scared of that?" Ian approached the mirror, his reflection staring back at him, cold and lifeless. He grinned at his own image. Is this it? This is what people were afraid of? But the reflection didn't smile back. The moment Ian stepped closer to the glass, something shifted in the reflection. His image twitched. Not in the way that could be explained by movement or lighting. It was deliberate. The face in the mirror stayed still, but the rest of the figure, the body, shifted as though someone else were standing just behind him. Emma took a step back, suddenly feeling the weight of something she couldn't explain. "Ian?" Her voice wavered. "You should move." But Ian, his pride bruised, didn't listen. Instead, he placed his hand against the mirror, his fingers running along the ornate frame, and the air around him seemed to hum, vibrating with something ancient. Then, without warning, his reflection smiled, a slow, malicious grin that didn't match his own. "Ian?" Jake called, suddenly worried. "This isn't funny anymore." Ian's eyes darted to his friends, confusion crossing his face. "What are you talking about? And there it was. The mirror cracked and trembled violently, and for a moment, Ian's reflection wavered like a flickering candle flame. Then, his reflection stepped forward. It wasn't him, not in any sense. The figure in the mirror grinned wider, its eyes dark, filled with something malevolent. Its lips parted as though to speak. But before Ian could pull his hand away, something grabbed him. Not from behind, but from within the mirror. Cold fingers wrapped around his wrist like iron. Tight. "Ian!" Natalie screamed, grabbing at his arm, but it was already too late. The mirror had already claimed him. His reflection, still smiling that wide, sinister grin, stepped completely out of the mirror. A dark shape, taller than Ian, twisted its arm toward them. And for a split second, Ian's real body spasmed as if in pain. And then, nothing. For he was gone. The mirror was empty. Emma froze in terror. What just happened? Jake backed away, horrified. That thing, It took him. The room grew colder. The shadows stretched unnaturally long, and the whispering began. It was low, like a rustling in the air, but it grew louder. Words they couldn't understand, but they felt wrong. From the corner of her eye, Emma saw it. A figure standing at the far end of the hall, a silhouette distorted by the fog in the air. The more she stared, the clearer it became. It was Ian's face, but twisted, deformed. His eyes empty sockets. His mouth stretched wide, a black abyss. Emma, it whispered, the voice like the scraping of nails against glass. Come closer. The other screamed as the walls seemed to bend, as though the house itself were alive. The mirror throbbed, pulling them toward it. And they ran. They bolted out of the house, gasping for air as if they'd been submerged underwater. But when they reached the gate, Emma turned around. In the upstairs window of the mirror house, she saw them. All of them. The reflections still inside. And standing beside them, grinning with eyes that weren't his, was Ian. The next day, the house was gone. The land was empty. Just a stretch of wild grass and the distant whisper of something lost to time. And yet, every now and then, a passing traveler will swear they see it in the mirror house just for a moment, always with someone standing at the window, their face barely visible, a wicked smile stretching wide. And for those who dare to look closely, they'll see that the reflection staring back isn't quite their own. And thus ends the tale of the reflection. And if only it were like that. If only you looked into the mirror and what you saw wasn't quite you. You know, honestly, that's one of my biggest fears. As if it will ever work. Part 2 of the KittehKun tale. After training and face-planting in the ice, he ended up with the flu. Even though his allergies were acting up, he decided to stream, but we kept hearing his sniffles as sneezes, so his homie told him, Lord Jeebus, and bless you. He went on with the spooky stories, and that was that. This ends the tale of the sickly house cat. You know what? I have a perfect idea. I got you. Hold on, Nightmare. Hold on, I got you. Are you ready for this? So, alright, so I just asked Copilot to do something stupid. And of course, as I give myself a sinus massage, everything's good again. Alright, get ready for this. I think you might like this one, Nightmare. It was supposed to be a simple Friday afternoon. KittehKun had an ambitious goal for the day. He was gonna make the best pancakes ever. Not just any pancakes, but fluffy, golden, Instagram-worthy pancakes that would even make the most hardened food critic weep with joy. He woke up a little late, but that didn't matter. He was determined. The kitchen was his domain, and today he was gonna conquer it. He put on his apron, which admittedly was a bit too big, but it made him feel like a professional chef. Maybe he'd even add some whipped cream, maybe some fresh berries, and the possibilities were endless. He marched into the kitchen, determined to make the best pancakes ever. He grabbed the ingredients: flour, sugar, baking powder, eggs, milk, and began the pancake masterpiece. "Alright, Kitteh," he muttered to himself, cracking the first egg with the finesse of a seasoned cook. "It's showtime." Except, well, the first mistake was not reading the recipe. Or maybe he did read it, but halfway through, he figured he was so advanced at this point that he didn't need instructions. Flour, sugar, eggs. How hard could it be? Famous last words. Things started off great. He whisked the flour and eggs together, humming a tune, feeling quite confident. The batter was smooth, it looked perfect, or at least almost perfect. He added a little extra sugar because, hey, more sweetness is always a good idea, right? But then, he went to get the milk, and in his infinite wisdom, he decided he didn't want to use regular milk. Oh no, he was feeling adventurous. He grabbed the almond milk from the fridge, thinking it would give the pancakes that extra something. The secret ingredient that would elevate them into pancake royalty. He poured in the almond milk with a flourish. The batter didn't look any different, but he could have sworn the kitchen air smelled fancier. And next, he turned on the stove, grabbed a frying pan, and made a mental note that he should probably butter the pan. But then, he didn't. And instead, he thought, why bother? I'm a pancake-making genius. These will flip effortlessly. And with that, he began pouring the batter into the pan. The sizzle was more of a pop than a smooth, confident hiss. The first pancake looked, well, it looked like an abstract art project. It wasn't round, it wasn't golden. It was more of a sad, uneven blob with some crispy edges. But he was determined. It'll taste fine, he assured himself. He flipped it. It did not flip well. In fact, it more or less flopped out the pan and landed with all the grace of a cat who forgot how to land onto the floor. Okay, he said, glaring at this sad sack of a pancake. No big deal. There's still plenty of batter left. I suppose I should try again. He grabbed the spatula, dusted off the floor, and started over. This time, he tried to be more careful. He added butter to the pan. He lowered the heat and made sure the batter had time to settle. pancake was slowly taking shape, but it didn't seem to be cooking right. It was too thin, too flat. The edges were beginning to burn, and the center remained a pale, sticky disaster. In his frustration, he decided it needed more time. Maybe more heat. He cranked up the stove to the highest setting and watched as the pancake began to smoke. But wait, a flash of brilliance crossed your mind. If it's not cooked enough, maybe I can just fold it over like a quesadilla. Pancake quesadilla, he said. He grabbed a spatula, attempted the fold, and immediately regretted it. The pancake folded in on itself, looking like a crumpled up piece of paper. And at that moment, a pop. That poor pancake had just exploded on the hot surface, spraying bits of burnt batter across the stove and counter. In horror, KittehKun stared at the kitchen. The stove was now a war zone of pancake bits. A smoke cloud was slowly filling the room. And there was one lone charred pancake lying in the corner, like a sad, burnt offering to the breakfast gods. He took a deep breath. Maybe pancakes weren't your thing. Maybe you weren't destined to create the culinary masterpiece he had envisioned. But then, his cat, who had been unhelpfully lounging on the kitchen counter the entire time, jumped down and sniffed the burnt mess, and proceeded to lick it. The cat didn't seem to mind the almond milk disaster one bit. Well, at least one of us enjoyed it, he sighed, defeated. He sat at the table, staring at the humble attempts. The pancake disaster had turned into a cautionary tale of overconfidence, bad decisions, and almond milk betrayal. But hey, at least he still had the apron. Even in the rest of the kitchen would be covered in pancake carnage for the next few hours. And that, KittehKun, is the story of how the attempt to make the perfect pancakes turned into a complete and total disaster. But hey, at least that one was memorable. And maybe next time he'll stick to regular milk as opposed to using almond milk. The end. So fucking dumb, bro. Yeah, we could. We low-key could. We low-key could change it into an adult's children's book. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. You know what? While I have ChatGPT open, Copilot, how about we make a story for you? Alright, I got you, hold on. Here we go. Oh, fuck. This is gonna be crazy. Alright, sit back. Get comfortable. Nightmare wasn't her real name, but no one dared to ask. It was just what everyone called her, partly because it was fitting, and partly because it felt like the safest thing to do. She worked at the warehouse late at night when the world outside was asleep, and it was the perfect job for her. Quiet, isolated, and simple. Or at least it seemed that way at first. You know what? Actually, hold on. Before I continue, let me actually get some more water. Because my throat is actually starting to hurt. Give me a second. Alright. Alright. Let's begin. I don't know if you're ready for this. We also change to some shorts because it's getting a little crazy in here. Fuck, of course an ad has to play. Okay. We'll wait for the ad to play and then we'll begin. Alright. Hopefully everyone's been having a good Friday so far. I know I have. Today's Friday has definitely been a little interesting than normal. That's for sure. That is definitely for sure. One of these days, one of these things is just not like the other, they say. At least, that's how they say it. And so the ad break finishes, and now we begin. The warehouse was a massive place, stacked with pallets of all kinds of goods. The air was thick with the smell of dust and cardboard. The faint hum of the overhead lights created a constant buzz that never seemed to end. If you walked through the aisles during the day, it was just another place full of lifeless products. But at the end, that was when it felt like the building itself was alive. Nightmare had worked there for nearly 2 years. She was the only one who worked the graveyard shift. They all told her it was a terrible idea, but she loved the stillness, the solitude. But there was one thing they never warned her about: the rules. Every night when she clocked in, a supervisor would hand her a piece of paper with instructions. They were simple at first. Don't leave Don't leave aisle 9 after midnight. Don't touch the crates marked with the black symbol, and always check the back door twice before locking it. They seemed harmless enough. Standard warehouse protocol, really, but there were other rules, strange rules that Nightmare had to follow. Rules that no one else seemed to know about. Never make a noise past 3 a.m. Do not look into the mirrors on the east wall. And if you hear tapping, tap back 3 times. Do not let it tap twice. There were rules that felt almost unnecessary, but Nightmare, being the obedient worker, followed them. The first time she broke a rule was a small thing. It was 3:15 a.m. and she had just finished sorting a pallet of boxes when her phone buzzed in her pocket. She answered, the sound of a voice on the other end pulling her out of the silence, a conversation she shouldn't have had. It wasn't loud. She didn't yell or laugh, just a soft voice. And still, the moment she hung up, the warehouse felt different. The lights flickered once, twice, and then the hum of the room became sharper, almost like a warning. She shrugged it off. Malfunction, just a coincidence. She continued her shift, but felt a chill in the air she hadn't been there before. At 4 a.m., the tapping started. It was faint at first. A light tap, tap, tap from the far end of aisle 13. And she paused. It wasn't the sound of a machine, or even the hum of lights, but instead, it was a rhythm, deliberate. Someone or something was there. She glanced at the clock and it read 4:03 a.m. She did what the rules told her. 3 taps. Tap, tap, tap. But then, the taps had stopped. A heartbeat of silence. And then, the echoing sound of a heavy footstep. Not on the ground, but on the ceiling. It moved above her, pacing slowly, deliberately. Nightmare froze. Her blood ran cold, but the rules are clear. Don't stop. Don't break the pattern. With trembling hands, she pushed a cart of boxes down the aisle, trying to ignore the strange sound overhead, trying not to look up. The clock ticked past 5 a.m., and just as the final bell of her shift rang, the tapping stopped. The warehouse was still, and everything was just normal. Or at least it appeared that way. The second time she broke a rule was when she ignored the mirrors. It had been a long night, and she was tired. The exhaustion had settled in, her eyes feeling heavy as if she passed the east wall of the warehouse. The one with the mirrors. The mirrors she had been instructed never to look into. She caught a glimpse of something in the reflection. A figure. It was a woman, dressed in black, but there was something wrong with her. Her eyes were too wide, her mouth too stretched. It wasn't just a trick of light. The figure in the mirror was moving. Nightmare snapped her head away, but the reflection lingered. It stayed watching over her like a hawk. The rules were clear, though. Do not look into the mirrors on the east wall. And yet, the temptation was too great. She turned back, her gaze locked with the woman in the glass, and the figure, it smiled. The smile wasn't friendly, it was cruel. It was cruel, a grin that spread too wide, too unnatural. She recoiled, her breath catching in her throat. The woman in the mirror didn't stop smiling. In fact, her reflection leaned forward, her face pressing against the glass as if trying to break through. The lights flickered again, and for a split second, Nightmare swore the figure was there in the warehouse with her, standing just beyond the mirror. She stepped back, heart hammering in her chest. Her hands gripped the counter beside her, her nails digging into the cold metal. She had broken the rule, and she could already feel the consequences. By the time 6 a.m. rolled around, the warehouse felt wrong. The air was thick with an oppressive tension. Something was watching her. She couldn't shake the feeling that the walls themselves were closing in. She checked the time, only 15 minutes before her shift ended. But something was different. The back door was open. It hadn't been open when she locked it. The shadows outside the door stretched unnaturally long. They seemed to move, like fingers crawling toward her. There at the edge of the doorway, she saw something. A figure. A tall, thin figure standing just beyond the threshold. Its face hidden in shadow. Nightmare's breath caught in her throat. She wasn't alone. She remembered the rule. Always check the back door twice before locking it. And she had forgotten. In her exhaustion, she had only checked it once, and now it was too late. The figure stepped forward, its body bending unnaturally as it crossed the threshold. It was coming for her. Nightmare's heart raced. She grabbed the first thing she could find, a metal rod, and swung it at the figure. But the rod passed straight through it, like it wasn't even there. The figure only grinned wider, that same twisted smile from the mirror. It was the woman. The one from the east wall. Her reflection had come to life, and now she wasn't just in the mirror. She was everywhere. Nightmare, the woman hissed. Her voice was like nails scraping across glass. You were supposed to follow the rules, and now you'll never leave. And before Nightmare could say anything, the woman's nails lurched at Nightmare's heart, and she let out a guttural scream. And so, Nightmare never did. She never really did leave that warehouse. She was still there, somewhere in that warehouse, stuck between the cracks of reality. And so, If you ever work the late night shift at that warehouse, be careful, because there are rules. And if you break them, you might just find yourself trapped with her. The woman with the cruel, endless smile. And you'll never, ever, ever escape. The end. And thus ends another tale. I like that one. Hell no, dog. But IRL, one of my biggest fears is mirrors and open doors. Yeah, I totally get that. Mirrors are definitely scary. They say that mirrors are the portals to the other realm. Let me actually see what does that mean. Here, we'll check it out right now. If my computer can stop lagging so fucking bad, that'd be great. That would actually be so fantastic. Why the hell do I have this voice? Like this story time voice. You know what I'm saying? Alright, let's see. The idea is that when two mirrors face each other, they open a portal to the spirit world or another dimension, allowing spirits or other supernatural entities to enter our world. And as of course, there's no scientific evidence to back up this claim. Because why would there be? How the hell do you explain ghosts? That's actually crazy though, to think about. Can you imagine when you look at yourself in the reflection? When you look at your reflection in the mirror, that you are looking into an alternate universe. One where you look exactly the same, but it just so happens that you are there in the same point in time and space. In the same point in time and space where things are a little interesting. Ain't that some shit? Tema torasera. Have I seen the horror movie Mirrors? I have not yet. What's that movie about? Is that movie any good? Yeah, I'm a sucker for horror movies. Literally everything you just described? Well, there you go. Everything that I've just described. Ain't that some shit? Except the reflection of the main character try and kill him. Yeah. You gotta make a movie like that interesting some way, somehow, right? In some way and fashion, you have to make it sound interesting. And so, there it is. That things are quite interesting. It traumatized me when I was 12. Hell no. It must be a good movie then. See, I like those kinds of movies where it can really like fuck with you. Maybe that just makes me a fucked up person, but I do really like movies that like, mess with you like that. It's kind of like that one movie where there's a bunch of people who are stuck in an elevator and a demon just starts fucking killing all of them. I forgot what it's called, but that movie is pretty damn good. That one fucked me up as a kid, though. I was always so afraid to get into an elevator, so I would opt to take the stairs. Like, you got me fucked up if you think I'm gonna enter an elevator and, and someone is just gonna fucking shing, you know what I'm saying? Can't have that shit. I just can't have it. It's too fucking crazy, even for me. I don't know. Maybe I'm just overthinking it. I'm more scared of the elevator suddenly falling. It was like 15 floors up. No, I feel that. Elevators can be scary. Elevators can be quite scary. And yet, it is one of the most efficient ways to get up. To ascend vertically, an elevator is actually one of the best and most efficient ways. Right now, at least. It's in the name. Elevate. Elevate. Alright. Well, without further ado, I have our final story for tonight. The final story that will wrap up a story time extravaganza. The story time extravaganza that happened throughout this entire week. And maybe we'll put in a story time reading for the schedule. We shall see. Well, without further ado, let's begin. I hope everyone has been enjoying the stream so far. This will be our last story, a bedtime story. So sit and get comfortable, because KittehKun is gonna read you a final tale. Long ago, in a world where the night sky shimmered like an endless ocean, there was a small village nestled in the heart of a valley. This village was special, not because of its grand castles or mighty warriors, but because it was home to the star catchers. The star catchers had a most magical duty. Every night, as the stars danced across the sky, they would climb the tallest hills with their enchanted nets and catch the fallen stars before they touched the ground. It was said that if a star fell and shattered, its light would be lost forever. But if a star catcher caught it, they could send it back into the sky where it belonged. Among the star catchers was a young girl named Leora. She wasn't the fastest climber, nor the most skilled at swinging her net, but she had something no one else did, an unbreakable determination. While others caught stars effortlessly, Leora often stumbled, tripped, and sometimes missed entirely. But no matter how many times she failed, she always got back up. One evening, just as the sky turned a deep shade of violet, and the first stars blinked into existence, an elder star catcher approached Leora. "Tonight," the elder said, "a very special star will fall. It shines brighter than any before, and it carries a wish within it. But be warned, this star will not be easy to catch. It will test your heart, your courage, and your spirit." Leora's eyes sparkled with excitement. She had never caught a wish star before, but if she could, perhaps she would finally prove herself as a true star catcher. And so, she set off. Climbing the highest hill, Leora prepared herself. The wind howled gently, whispering through the grass, and above her, the sky shimmered with endless lights. She held her net tightly, scanning the heavens for the fallen star. And then she saw it. A single golden streak cut through the night, glowing so brightly that it painted the sky with ribbons of light. It was beautiful, more radiant than anything she had ever seen. But something was wrong. The star did not fall in a gentle arc like the others. It tumbled wildly as if struggling against some unseen force. It darted left, then right, faster than any star Leora had ever chased. It was as if the star didn't want to be caught. Leora took a deep breath. She had to trust herself, and she ran. The star shot past her, and she lunged, swinging her net, and she missed. It weaved between two trees, and she jumped once more, stretching her arms as far as they would go, but missed once more. It dipped low, hovering just above the river, and Leora leapt forward with her heart pounding. Almost. The net closed. For a moment, everything was still. Leora blinked, hardly believing it. She had done it. She had caught the wish star. But as she peered into her net, something surprising happened. The golden light shimmered and shifted, and then the star spoke. "You shouldn't have caught me," it whispered, its voice like the soft chime of wind through bells. Leora gasped. "You can talk?" The star flickered. I'm not like the others. I carry a wish so strong it does not want to return to the sky. Leora hesitated. She had never heard of a wish star that didn't want to rise again. But if you stay on the ground, you'll disappear. Your light will fade. I know, the star said. But this wish belongs to someone who needs me more than the sky does. And Leora frowned. Whose wish? The star pulsed gently. Yours. Leora's breath caught in her throat. Mine? She had never thought of making a wish before. She had spent so much time chasing stars, trying to prove herself, that she had never stopped to wonder what she truly wanted. Go on, the star encouraged. Make a wish. Leora closed her eyes. There are so many things she could wish for. Strength, speed, skill. But as she stood there, feeling the warmth of the stars' glow, she realized something. She didn't need to be the fastest, and she certainly didn't need to be the best. She only needed to believe in herself. I wish, she whispered, to always have the courage to keep going, no matter how many times I fall. The stars shined brightly, so bright that for a moment the entire valley was bathed in golden light. Then, slowly, it began to rise. Leora watched her heart full as the wish star floated back into the sky. And from that night forward, something changed. Leora still stumbled sometimes. She still missed a few stars, but she no longer doubted herself. She no longer worried about falling, because she knew that every time she got back up, she was already shining, just like the stars above. And one day, when she was older, the other star catchers would tell stories of the girl who once caught a wish and sent it soaring back into the heavens. A girl who became the brightest star of them all. The end. What a beautiful story. That was a very beautiful story, actually. Alright. That was a beautiful story, actually. I can't stop laughing at that. The stories tonight have been quite stellar, if I do say so myself. Each having their own unique ending. Alright. Well, we actually have one special story. Now that we're, playing with ChatGPT and shit. So, join me as we send everyone off. The last light of the evening. As the night draws its curtain and the stars take their place in the sky, a hush settles over the world. It's in these quiet moments. What the fuck? Oh shit. As the night draws its curtain and the stars take their place in the sky, a hush settles over the world. It's in these quiet moments when the screen fades to black and the last echoes of laughter linger in the air that we realize something important. This place, this little space that we share, is more than just pixels and sound waves. It is a world of its own, built from memories, from energy, from the kindness of strangers who somehow become friends. And just like every great adventure, every late-night journey, every story whispered under the glow of the monitor, it must eventually reach its final page, at least for tonight. You, listener, who have walked these digital roads with me, through chaos and calm, through triumph and absolute disasters. You've laughed with me, maybe even sighed in frustration, and in doing so you've become part of something greater. Because that's the magic of this place. A stream is more than just a show. It's a home for the weary travelers of the internet, a campfire where we all gather, bringing our stories, our energy, our weird inside jokes that no one else in the world would understand. It's where we celebrate victories no matter how small, and where we shrug off the defeats, knowing that another round, another match, another day is always waiting. And though the stream must end, the journey must not. You carry this energy of Kun Enterprises out into the world beyond the screen. You take this laughter, this joy, and the sheer weirdness and goofy gooberness of everything we've done here, and you bring it into tomorrow. Because that's what makes this special. No matter where you are, no matter what your day holds, whether you're facing something exciting, something stressful, or just another Tuesday that refuses to be interesting, know this, that you were here, you are part of something, you matter, and most importantly, the soul of the cat that you are now watching is a part of you as well. So until we meet again under the glow of this little corner that we call Twitch, stay kind, stay strong, and most importantly, stay you. And with that, the lights dim, the curtains fall, and the last light of the evening fades into the star. But even as the last light fades, remember, this is never truly goodbye, because somewhere out there in the vastness of time and space, in a little pocket of the universe where laughter echoes and friendships spark like constellations, this moment still exists. Every joke we've cracked, every win, every loss, every ridiculous tangent that we've ever been on together, it's all still here, living in the hearts and minds and souls of everyone who was a part of it. And the best part is we get to do it all again. Maybe not tomorrow, and maybe not even the next day, but soon. And when we do, it'll be like we never left. Because this place isn't just about the games, or the streams, the stories, or even the chaos that we create. It's about us. About the people who show up, who make it what it is, who turn an ordinary night into something unforgettable. So as you close this tab, as you step away from the screen and return to the world beyond, I bid this warmth with you, from one cat to another. Let it remind you that no matter how far we all may be, no matter where life takes us, there will always be a place where you belong, a place where you're welcome, a place where you can just be you. And when the time comes, when the light flickers back on and the stream goes live once more, you'll know exactly where to find us, and in part, where to find the cat, right here. And until then, those who have fallen asleep on the stream, I bid you rest easy, dream big, and never stop being that amazing, chaotic, and wonderful person that you are. And those of you who are still awake, tuning into the very end of this stream, thank you all so much for listening to these stories. As the last light fades, this is never truly a goodbye. My name is KittehKun. I love each and every single one of you. And I'll see everyone next time. Sleep well tonight.